Well, they were already hearing us anyways. I didn't unmute us. Hey guys, we're back. My computer crashed. Battery also died. It was plugged in. Don't say I wasn't charging it. Yeah, so that's done. Let's move on with the stories. Again, with me is Maddie and Helping
Hopefully
Hands.
no more fuckery.
Yeah, hopefully no more fuckery. I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best.
Please tell me that I'm not sounding quiet right now. 'Cause, like, I've explored every option.
According to the audio levels I'm looking at, you're about half as loud as I am. And I'm turned down halfway from max.
Wow.
Can you just speak louder into the mic,
yeah.
possibly?
I can try.
Just
man.
yell.
This is gonna be fixing this problem is gonna be a project. I'm sure of it.
All right. So, Maddie, can you test your volume real quick?
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Because all of a sudden Chrome is not loading Direwolf's channel for me. I keep getting a... Oh. Nope.
Oh, it's loading. Well, no, it's not. Or is it?
It's loaded for me, so...
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
All
I
right.
don't know. I'm so confused that I don't know.
All right. Well, let's just move on to the next story then.
Mm-hmm.
No.
All right.
Story B.
I think it was your turn to read.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
So we're looking at the... turns out the Ukraine phone call whistleblower worked for Biden.
That is not
Dude,
surprising.
your audio faded out like just as you said Biden. Your audio faded.
Really?
That's
Russian bots.
Yep.
It was Biden. He worked for Biden. And now we definitely are getting taken off of YouTube. And I probably have a hit out for me, thanks to Clinton.
That's awesome. All right. So it's on me, yeah?
Yeah, it's on you.
All right. So this week we received a little more information about the whistleblower that accused Trump of corruption and abusing his power during a phone call with the Ukrainian president. Previously, we had learned that the whistleblower was an intelligence official, a career civil servant, a registered Democrat, and that he did not have firsthand knowledge of the majority of the things he claimed Trump had done. This week it was discovered that the whistleblower had also worked directly for Biden, if you can even hear me say that word, when he was vice president.
None of these general things we've learned really mean a whole lot, but they have led to a bunch of speculation that this whistleblower is starting to sound more and more like a biased political operative. Yes. This whistleblower...
Shocker.
I know, right? This whistleblower has characterized Trump's efforts to investigate government corruption as him abusing his power for political gains. It sure would be ironic if it turned out that this whistleblower had made false claims about Trump for political gains. That said, the whistleblower being a Democrat means nothing on its own. Many people registered as Democrats are reasonable people. Some even voted for Trump. Working for Obama and Biden, the Obama-Biden administration, doesn't mean he is a political agent. He likely was still employed as an intelligence officer for that administration. That alone doesn't allude to a bias. However, we do have some proof that this whistleblower was motivated by political bias.
That evidence comes from the intelligence community inspector general, the person who screened the whistleblower after he made his complaint. The inspector general's report found that the whistleblower showed signs of a clear political bias. That means, excuse me, that means that not only did the whistleblower have no firsthand knowledge of the words spoken during the call, but that his actions were also motivated by that political bias. Based on this information, it's no wonder that Acting Director of National Intelligence Joseph McGuire decided to withhold the whistleblower report.
Odd. My channel is showing as not there.
Good. I was about to think I was going nuts.
Well, see, I even go to my channel, and it's not there. It's getting double check channel name spelling.
That's what I keep getting.
I can go to Director Arketer to see how... Oh, Director Arketer is also not there.
Yeah, That's what I'm getting.
Okay, so the website's down.
What the hell?
Website's down.
Oh, the
You
website's down.
finally get your
Holy
computer running
shit.
and the website goes down.
What did I tell you, man? Murphy and his fucking law.
The entire
Like,
fucking website for
just
D
as you
Live is down.
Just as you finally fixed the problem, son of a bitch, dude.
What are the chances?
I'm telling you.
I'm still broadcasting on 7 other platforms, so we can keep going. But everyone who's watching,
fucking, might as well.
yeah, I restream so that if that happens, I mean, you can still watch us on YouTube for now or Twitch. I can go check out the Twitch chat though, because anyone who's watching us, I can't see the chat. So, wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is a DDoS attack. What do you think?
I mean, if it is a DDoS attack, it's the sloppiest DDoS attack I've ever seen.
Because the site isn't down. The site isn't down. It's just that apparently the server that it pulls from is down because it's missing information. Like the site's still operating, but a bunch of users, their channels information's unavailable.
Yeah, that's
So.
yeah. Again, if it's a DDoS attack, it's sloppy. I blame website fuckery.
Yep. In any case, moving on to the next story or next paragraph. I mean, so did you read your section ending on whistleblower report?
Yeah.
Cool.
The
Cool.
IG inspector was you were up, dude.
So the IG inspector also said that the claim seemed credible. However, what does credible mean? That's pretty important. It doesn't mean that the claims are true. The transcripts have shown that the claims, in fact, weren't entirely true. For instance, Trump never did say that he was going to withhold military aid if Ukraine's president didn't investigate the corruption in relation to Biden's son. That never happened. That was part of the original whistleblower report, though. So we know that the report wasn't entirely true. Also, it was the Ukraine president that brought up Biden in the first place. It wasn't Trump, and he also did not threaten to withhold anything in return. The legal definition of credible evidence means something is believable, not factual. Is the claim possible? Sure. Are parts of the claim visibly true? Like, was there a phone call between two people? Yes, these two people. Was this topic discussed? Yes. So his claim has some credibility, but that is a far cry from saying it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's generally why saying something was proven in court is most often a nonsensical statement. I mean, anyone who's seen that movie Law Abiding Citizen, derives the quote, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove in court. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
Until we become mind readers, that's the best we can do. And
this doesn't even rise to that level because they weren't willing to take this to any kind of litigation because there wasn't enough evidence or credibility to actually look to investigate to find a crime here. That's what the director of Homeland Security had determined. There wasn't anything here to investigate. So you can have credible evidence that still isn't enough for you to take someone to court, right? And can still not be enough to prosecute someone.
Yeah, you need to have a solid foundation. Like, hey, there was a call made is not enough.
Right. Like, for instance, you could say if you found a boot imprint in the dirt at a murder scene that matches the same style of boot as another person, you could say that's credible evidence towards that person being possibly the murderer. However, just because you have a similar boot at the crime scene as someone else, it doesn't mean that they're the killer because there's millions of the boots sold, right? So that's an example of that's credible evidence. It is far, far from saying that person is guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
In any case, so that is this whole fact that this guy was noted to be politically motivated by the IG when he submitted his report when he was interviewed, and by the fact that he, you know, worked for the Obama administration, and you know, it seems as though he may have been, you know, having political motives for attacking Trump. It's really calling into question whether or not there's any legitimacy to this report in the first place, especially since he went to the what's his name, that guy who misquoted Trump. It was on the intelligence committee. Oh man, the guy.
How many guys have misquoted Trump?
No. He
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
shitty. It was
Yeah.
Oh man, why am I forgetting his name?
Shift.
Shifty. Yeah.
Shift.
So Congressman Shift had actually met with the whistleblower, or either people from his office went with the whistleblower a month before the whistleblower report came out to help him form the report, help write the report. So he was doing this in tandem with other Democrat politicians. It really seems like this is more of just a political attack rather than actually having any truth to it.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, they just did 2 years of that, so why would we think this would be anything different?
2 years. They've been throwing a temper tantrum for 3 years.
Fair enough. They've been talking about impeachment since he got elected. Actually, they're beforehand. All right. Next story.
All right. Recently, several companies cowardly bowed to the communist regime in China and censored support for Hong Kong's movement for freedom and democracy. Blizzard started a dumpster fire, boy, did they, when they banned a popular gamer, Blitzchung, for supporting Hong Kong during a stream of Hearthstone. Actually, it was the interview afterwards.
Fair enough. As a general rule, if you really want to draw attention to any issue, get gamers and internet culture involved. Then it will blow up. They are a surprisingly politically active group. When they banned that player, they set off an internet firestorm of gamers, Blizzard's customer base, calling for a boycott. Blizzard later claimed that the player's ban was not because of their relationship with China. They were very clear about that, and reduced the ban to 6 months and gave him back the prize money that he had been denied. Blizzard basically claimed that Chung was banned because he made a political statement during a official Blizzard broadcast, not because of the exact statement made. Also, literally no one believes that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't have to dig far to find an example of double standards there.
I'm sure.
It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah. This
kind of smacks of Twitch's bullshit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, no overtly sexual content, unless you are an attractive female that makes us money and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the mindset of banning someone for coming out on the side of being pro-freedom and pro-democracy? Like that. Imagine you had
in this day and age, yeah, totally.
I mean, imagine if a streamer had said, came out as, an American streamer came out as pro-American. Would they ban him for that too? That's a political statement.
Yeah, they would definitely. Seriously, dude, being America, an American who is pro-American, America at this point is like, you might as well carve a swastika into your forehead the way the left looks at it.
That is insane.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Your turn.
It's
and
gotten
it's not
absolutely
the least
ridiculous.
insane. It's
I think they're exact.
Yeah, it's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say and yet, despite how insane that is, it's not the least sane thing I've seen even in this past week. So.
That's sad.
And see, this is I remember covering this story too. So I got the actual screen cap of their the rules that they say the Hearthstone player broke. And it said, Section 6.1, engaging in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image will result in removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to $0 in addition to other remedies which may be provided for under the handbook and Blizzard's website terms. So it doesn't say political, it just says offends a portion or group of the public.
That's about as general as you can get, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're
which means pretty much anyone can be ejected for any reason at any time now.
Yeah. But their reference to a political
absurd
statement was from when they made a public release of trying to explain and downplay what they had done. Like they're like, oh, we just reacted too quickly. No, I mean, if you reacted slower, but they still did the same thing, it's just as wrong. I mean, why is punishing him for being pro-democracy and pro-freedom, why is it even a thing? Why is that possible?
Exactly.
You know, the people that are offended by freedom,
politics, man.
the people that are offended by democracy and freedom are the kind of people you should want to offend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'll go for that.
that's exactly right.
Yep. However,
They're the
this
kind of
one-
people that don't understand that they don't have a right to not be offended. That's not how it works.
Right.
Right. This wouldn't be the first time a company cucked to China's oppressive regime. Last year, Rainbow Six Siege, after being released in America for several months, after millions of Americans already paid for it, put out an update that censored skulls, blood, and other unsanctioned imagery so that it could go to the Chinese market. They got their money from Americans who followed the false promises of the trailers, then retroactively, dishonestly, and universally censored these things to make their end product palatable for the Chinese government. False advertising at its worst, and with a bad political aftertaste.
Gross. The second company was the second company was the Houston Rockets basketball team. The Rockets GM Daryl Morley tweeted a tweet in support of Hong Kong's pro-democracy protesters, which is great. What is bad is that the GM Daryl, a short time later, apologized and saying that he had made a mistake to support Hong Kong's fight for freedom. It turns out that the NBA was pressured by China, which is a massive market that the NBA operates in. They make a lot of money in China. It appears that money is more important to them than taking a moral stance against the violent oppression of millions of people. Not a good look.
No, not a good look. Next up, we have Apple, who cucked on the Taiwan flag emoji, according to a number of local websites, including Hiraku. Apple appears to have removed the Taiwan flag from the emoji keyboards of users who have their iOS region set to Hong Kong or Macau. The change implemented via a software update I'll get it working in a minute. Came not long after the company released its iOS 13 operating system. For what reason could Apple go out of their way to do this? Sweatshops! Either they really hate freedom or democracy, or they were pressured by China. Sweatshops! Oh, sorry, I'm having an allergic reaction. Honestly, given the leftist mindset pervading big tech in this country, either case is plausible.
Yep. Then there was the skateboarding brand Vans.
Sweatshops, totally.
Yes, definitely sweatshop. Then there was a skateboard brand Vans, which is facing a boycott in Hong Kong after it removed a shoe alluding to the city's anti-government protest from a sneaker design competition. Last Saturday, with over a week of voting still to go, the submission was removed from the competition website. Yeah.
Since we're calling out all these companies for cucking to China, we should allot some due praise to one company that also had the balls to call a spade a spade. Despite knowing it would inevitably affect their bottom line, Comedy Central South Park, because they have some vamp people on that show, aired an episode calling out both China and the companies that have caved under their pressure, and their reward was in having their show banned throughout China. They're definitely going to lose a ton of money over this, but at the end of the day, they'll still retain their dignity, something few media outlets can claim these days, and something especially surprising of Comedy Central, given their current political leanings. Honestly, I can hardly believe their board of directors even gave this episode the green light. I'm not, because South Park is basically holding them afloat at this point.
Oh, I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did.
Pretty much.
America's most valuable export
Matt
is...
Stone and Trey Parker, man.
They're good people. They offend equally.
Yes.
America's most valuable export is culture. That is our gift to the world, you might say. The second we start censoring ourselves, the second we start holding ourselves to their standards, their far worst moral standards, and start importing their ideology, it's over. We can't let their culture define ours.
Yeah. It goes to show you, as sacred as we hold the Constitution, it is only as strong as we allow it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have people like this coming in and basically undermining it at every turn, if we don't resist, if nobody resists, then it is basically just words on paper.
Yep.
That's all it is.
That's right. Next story.
Yep. Trump supporters attacked at Trump rally. Yeah, that was just a clusterfuck. All right. Trump has held regular rallies around the country that are still attracting massive crowds. His rally this Thursday in Minnesota maxed out the event hall with 20,000 people. If there's one thing Trump is good at, it's attracting crowds, both of his supporters and of angry left-wing radicals like Antifa.
Antifa and other left-wing activists like to attend most conservative speaking events, and definitely every Trump rally, to show how they think that Trump is a dangerous authoritarian bigot by attacking Trump supporters. Multiple videos show left-wing protesters attacking Trump supporters unprovoked, stealing their hats, gathering them together, and burning them in the street. I am not sure if they realize that their acts of unprovoked acts of violence and destruction of property will do nothing but show Trump supporters they are right in supporting him, and convince moderates to support him. Even if Trump was the bigot they claim he is, he'd still seem like a moderate compared to Antifa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening too. All right. Antifa violence is nothing new, but as always, the question is, did the media report on it honestly? Well, to our absolute shock, very few did. When The Hill reported on the story, they said that there were clashes between left and right-wing protesters, that bottles of urine were thrown into the crowd, and that the police eventually made arrests. The truth is that the perpetrators of the violence were entirely on the left. Only Antifa were throwing those bottles. Only Antifa were throwing objects at police officers and their horses. It was Antifa who arrested It was Antifa who were arrested by the police, not Trump supporters. The Hill's report was entirely dishonest and, of course, predictable. After all, we can't expect biased media outlets like theirs to report honestly on narrative breakers like this anytime soon.
Also, I tried searching for other news outlets with the topic of violence at Trump's rally, and I found very few articles talking on it, and it was mostly Fox News, which was talking about what actually happened, and then The Hill.
So most of them won't even touch it.
Yeah, like CNN seemed to have avoided the topic almost entirely, except for, I mean, I can't search for all of their broadcasts, but as far as written articles, I couldn't find anything written up on it from them. But yeah, the most of them aren't touching it because they don't want to highlight how Trump supporters were just the victims here. But even when they do talk about violence from Antifa, they always try to lump it together as though there was violence on all sides. And yet, weren't they the ones that attacked Trump for saying that the all sides argument?
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, this is why the major news outlets are a fucking joke at this point. Like, almost nobody pays attention to them the way that they think they're being paid attention to. I mean, even before the days of YouTube, people were looking for alternative outlets like, The Daily Show on Comedy Central, and trusted that before they trusted CNN or Fox News or, ABC or whatever in the hell. And this is exactly why. Like, people are starting to realize that they're only going to allow you to hear what they want you to hear, and only how they want you to hear it.
Yeah, and they're becoming more and more blatant with it.
Yep.
Yeah, they are. They're not even trying to hide it at this point. It's like it's shameless. It is shameless.
I'm hearing from Tier in YouTube that we are very quiet. Well, let's see what I can do about
Damn it.
that.
Not
Man,
again.
it's the Russian bots.
All right. Try saying something now.
Yay.
Well, I
Okay.
fiddled with some settings. Maybe that'll help. Or maybe it just made things way worse.
Maybe. Who knows?
Find out
Russian
later.
bots? No, that's who knows.
It's probably the Russian bots. All right,
Yeah.
next story.
All right, next story. Supreme Court decides if you can fire a trans person. Oh, no. The Supreme Court has started hearing arguments on 3 related cases this week. All 3 cases revolve around whether or not it was lawful for an employer to fire someone who is gay, lesbian, or transsexual. Left-wing activists protested this week to say that these are landmark cases in determining LGBTQ rights. Depending on the ruling, the court's decision could possibly result in it being illegal for an employer to discriminate based on person's sexual preference or gender expression, when previously the law had only clearly protected a person from discrimination based on biological sex.
The first
Yeah,
concerning...
because back during the days of when we were reasonable, that was the only thing we really had to think about, not 72 imaginary genders and then 72,000 more.
Exactly. If they do include gender expression under that same protections, then you've just created a monster, because anyone could identify as anything, and that will be protected, no matter how that might be disruptive to your business.
And it will be used. It'll be used in legal loophole too. You can fucking believe that. Absolutely.
Yes. So the first concerned a pair of lawsuits from gay men who say that they were fired because of their sexual orientation. The second was a suit from a transgender woman, which is a man, Amy Steffens, who said her employer fired her when she announced that she would embrace her gender identity at work. My first issue with these cases is that the debate in the Supreme Court and the reports about this debate all presume that these people were fired because of their sexual preference and trans expression. I haven't seen any proof of that the employer's motive was to fire them for those reasons. All the reports are just presuming that to be true. I'm not willing to say that these employers were wrong or that these people shouldn't have been fired. They may have been bad workers and were unable to follow the company's rules. It's always a possibility.
That makes sense.
And if someone...
In this day and age, all you gotta do is whine that they're not being identified correctly, and there you go.
Yeah. I know far too many people who...
Such is the age of didn't do nothing.
Exactly. I know far too many people
Didn't do
who
nothing. That's what it's all about.
were fired, and then after the fact, after they were fired, they claimed, oh, it's because I was black, or because I was gay. They even though there was no... the employer never showed them any reason other than their work performance, they'll claim that to try to take the guilt off themselves. So...
It works.
It does work.
Damn charm these days.
So
Yep.
I'm not going to assume that these people did what everyone else is presuming they did.
Right. He said, however, if the Supreme Court rules that these people were fired because of their sexual preference or trans status, fair or not, the court's decision on whether this is lawful could have wide-reaching consequences. The court spent a lot of time talking about how making this kind of discrimination illegal would affect what bathrooms employees need to access to, and whether or not a sports league could only allow players of one biological sex. Oh, God, that would be a fucking mess.
Right, because those are also employees. Yeah, they're thinking about the entirety of the effects of such a law would be. Right, it's not just someone who works as a barista deciding to a guy starting to wear girls' clothes and then getting fired for that. It's not just that situation. It's a men's basketball league that restricts women, and a women's basketball league restricting men from playing. That would also be affected by this. It'd be businesses that don't have the ability to have multiple single-person bathrooms that now have to allow their women's room to be accessed by men. Right? These are the entirety of the consequences that would be applied federally across all the states. So that's why it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It all comes down to how the Supreme Court is going to interpret Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is what the the law that they're referring to. A lot of justices on the conservative side are saying that they're not willing to make a ruling on a case that would then cause a social upheaval because of it's such a big change in society and what society allows, and that they would rather prefer Congress pass actual laws.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just all the more reason that we need to keep these lunatics, sympathizing with Antifa and their ilk as far away from high offices like that as possible. Because the closer we get to them honoring this feels before wheels nonsense, the sooner we're going to start basically disregarding large swathes of our infrastructure and the way it works, especially when it comes to law. They don't think about the consequences of the changes they're going to make. And when you inject subjectivity like that into the law, if a part of a system can be broken, then it will be broken and it will be exploited until it is fixed. Like, you would think we would have learned this lesson by now, but no, they're not even thinking of that. No. They're just thinking, oh no, I identify as a woman. Well, that was 5 minutes ago. I identify as a non-binary tree now.
Yeah.
Like that shit isn't going to be used in court to get cases thrown out on technicalities, and it would be nonsense.
It would be. I mean, and I can see this actually reaching if they actually do pass the laws, relieving the Supreme Court of the onus of having to set a precedence with this. I can actually see, reports in the news coming out of quote unquote men who identify as women getting hit in the face with pepper spray as they try to walk into a women's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Why do we act like us making a space for women to protect women, why that's a bad thing? I mean, why are we acting like that's a bad thing?
Yeah.
Men, on average, are the more likely to be the aggressors. They're bigger and stronger. Women are more likely to be a victim, right? So we, instead of being offended and saying, "Oh, that's an oppressive stat towards men," right? Society says, "Okay, that's a reality we have to deal with. Men are more aggressive. Men are stronger. Women will feel less safe in a vulnerable situation while they're trying to use the restroom. So why don't we make a space where they will feel safer on their own?" Right? That's reasonable. It's not bigoted. But then we have people on the left trying to take away that protection of women.
I mean, not only that, we've got instances seeping into schools in New England and stuff. The two guys, excuse me, I'm going to call them guys. That's what those boys were. They were, 15, 16 years old, identified as female so they could beat the females in the track and field events.
Right. So obviously you're going to have cases where people use whatever loophole they can to take advantage of the system. That's going to exist, and they allowed for that to happen. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's, again, they don't understand the consequences. Like, they don't realize that a lot of the things that they vie for like this, a lot of these changes that they're trying to get put through they're going to contradict each other. And just like you said, you put something like this through, they're all about, protect the women's as much as possible. But as soon as you push something like this through, all of a sudden it's much, much harder to do that. And they're going to complain about it. Well, we're not protecting women enough. Well, what even is a fucking woman now? Okay? It seems to me that now it's an arbitrary identifier if we're going by their logic. They're children throwing tantrums. They don't care about consequences. They don't care about logic. All they care about is pandering.
And the worst and best thing, depending on how you look at it, is they're pissing off the actual transsexual people, the people that are on HRT, the people that are looking to get sexual reassignment surgery, because these activists, quote unquote, are pushing for the fact that they're trying to say you don't need dysphoria to be a transsexual, which is going to screw up actual transsexual people.
Well, here's the thing. Right. When we're talking about grade schools, by the way, we're back on D Live. It's fixed. Yay. So when we talk about trans kids in grade school and how we need to have allow the trans women, girls, into the girls' bathroom. This shouldn't be an argument at all, because the was 80% of kids who have gender dysphoria and believe they're trans grow out of it by age 18, unless they have gender reassignment surgery, because 100% of those people continue to have dysphoria moving forward, because you've just removed their hormones that would have naturally developed, right? But another thing is, a lot of kids that were once trans that are now adults are actually trying to find a way to transition back, because they never were trans in the first place. They did it because it was trendy, and they were encouraged by the adults in their life to radically change their bodies, and they're not happy with it as an adult. So this is why you shouldn't be pushing for a child to transition. It is child abuse to assist a child, indoctrinate them, and then assist them in mutilating their genitals. That is child abuse.
Not only are children of that age entirely too impressionable to really trust their own judgment as far as whether or not they think they are male or female, they also haven't gone through puberty, so they don't have a full scope of what it actually means to be male or female. Like, I guarantee you, if they're deciding that they feel like a girl or they feel like a boy, it was imposed on them by the adults in their lives 98% of the time.
And keep in mind, we're telling they're talking about transitioning kids as early as age 3, when kids don't start learning what being male and female is. Start understanding the differences between genders between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
Why would you be even considering trying to see what gender this kid feels like they are when they don't understand gender in the first place? I have kids that are 4 and 5, and they don't really understand what gender is, and they shouldn't at that age.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those are the ones that I fear for the most. I have a 4-year-old niece. My girlfriend has a 3-year-old son. Okay, these are the ones who are going to be affected by this, and them doing what it is that they're doing, they're basically getting away with projecting their will onto their kids. Like, it's them saying that they're allowing kids to feel like they're either boys or girls or whatever. Eventually, that's going to turn into them basically knuckling down on those who feel the wrong things.
Yeah. And then you have people on the other side too that I have on 3 separate occasions I have engaged them in the wild, so to speak. And when I told them I was a tomboy, they proceeded for the next 5 or 6 replies to convince me that since I was a tomboy, I was trans. I'm like, no, I'm a tomboy. That's not trans anything. It's a tomboy.
Yeah, my cousin was a tomboy too, and based on what she became, you very much wouldn't think she was a tomboy ever.
Yeah.
Like, these are not things that are set in stone.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel like a boy? Well, let's go ahead and build a penis out of knee skin for you. Like, fuck off.
Gross.
Do not do this to kids.
My wife was a tomboy when she was a kid. When she was back in her country and she was living in a village, she went out and did more masculine activities with her friends, because that was what they were doing, right? She dressed more masculine, but when she got married, she was switched over to the girliest girl. I was completely surprised by how freaking girly she became, and how it's obsessed with nice clothing and makeup she became, to the point that she now does makeup tutorials on YouTube. But yeah, just because how you act as a kid doesn't mean how you're going to be as an adult. That's my point.
All right. And you said in her own country. I mean, that's another factor. They like to say that gender is a social construct. Well, we want to talk about social subjectivity and cultural subjectivity. You'll go to certain cultures and you'll find that a lot of things that we consider to be masculine or feminine are generally universal, but there are nuances here and there. So how can we say that somebody who makes a completely arbitrary decision for themselves as to what gender or magical gender that suddenly exists that they are, is now beyond discussion with all of that subjectivity floating around it. It's feels before reals, and it's nonsense.
It is.
Yep. Agreed. All right. We're on the next story now, all right? Yes, Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, yeah. One of their patron saints up until now.
Yep, she's dead to them now.
So yeah, Ellen DeGeneres attacked by the left for being a decent person because of fucking course. On Sunday, Ellen DeGeneres attended a Dallas Cowboys football game. This was only noteworthy because of who she sat next to. Ellen was caught on camera sitting and smiling next to former President George W. Bush. Despite their differing political views, Ellen and Bush are friends, and they had a good time together at the game. But to her evident folly, Ellen committed a cardinal sin in the eyes of the regressive left, that of being kind to someone with whom she disagrees.
They both just happened to attend the same game. And like normal people, they just had fun watching the game and didn't have a contentious debate about politics. The left were mad that she was nice to Bush because he is a conservative, but what did they really expect her to do? Did they want her to ruin the game for everyone by screaming at him? Should she have gone full Antifa on him and beat the hell out of him and thrown piss on him? They are essentially mad at Ellen for acting like a decent...
They would have cheered for that.
I know, right? They would have called her, they would have praised her for doing so. But they are essentially mad at Ellen for acting like a decent human being that is able to tolerate someone who shares a different opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's why I can respect Ellen. I mean, despite her being one of their patron saints, she at least demonstrates she's a human being who is willing to reach across the aisle to the other human beings despite not agreeing with them.
Right.
And you can tell that the vast majority of these people that had a problem with this, could there be a clear demonstration that discussion is off the table for them? They don't even see. Dude, I actually had an interaction with and I posted on Twitter about this. A man in his 60s that I deeply respected. Like we met on our common interest in horror fiction. He was a narrator, I was a writer. He read some of my stuff, and he actually told me in response to that story that I posted on Facebook about the attacks that were happening in the Trump rally. He said, and I quote, "Anyone who attends a Trump rally deserves to be attacked. They are the worst kind of people and deserve to be," and I quote, "exterminated." These people, they are not willing to have any kind of discussion at all. They don't see us as people. They see us as the enemy, and that's it.
Yep.
But moving right along.
Well, it's a problem that
Ellen said this in response to the hate.
Sorry.
What do you say?
It's a problem we actually have on both sides,
No,
but
go right ahead.
it's more common on the left right now. We just shouldn't be dehumanizing someone because they're differing political opinion. You might see on the right, and when you do see on our side, you should call it out too, because it's not helping us. It's not helping us bring people to any reasonable position. If you just say, "Oh, that's just a freaking socialist," that's someone you can't even reach. Well, I mean, that's one person you're never going to bring over to your side of the argument, right? If you're just calling them, if you're just dehumanizing them and saying that they should be thrown out of helicopters. Now, obviously, I get jokes, right? But if that's really your mindset, then you're not going to reach anyone.
That's my biggest worry of this, man. I mean, I've tried addressing that on my channel several times. Like I've addressed right-wing people either in examining both sides of the argument of an argument that I found reprehensible from both sides, like the whole kneeling for the national anthem thing that's been going on for several years. You know, I found faults on both the left and the right for this.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've called out just the right directly for doing that very thing, like dehumanizing people that you disagree with. But we're finding more and more people now are willing to do that and no longer to listen.
Yeah.
Willing to listen, and that's taken the wind out of my sails more than I can even tell you.
And an important thing to note is I'm clearly a conservative, but there's people who are liberals who watch my content and like my content, and they don't agree with everything I say, but they agree with a lot of things. And one reason these are people I'm able to reach because I don't just hate someone who disagrees with me, right? and they don't just hate me because they disagree with me. We're able to have conversations and actually agree on some things because of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's.
Yeah. I find it.
Go ahead.
Oh, go. Well, I was gonna say I find it hilarious that they believe that something as objective and grounded in biology and science as gender is not a binary, and yet somehow something as nuanced and subjective as politics somehow is.
Right?
They're back-ass words. They really are.
Yeah. Well, it's like I'll not get into it, but I'll start a conversation with someone, and they'll go, "Oh my God, you're a Trumper." I said, "Oh, how cute! You're assuming that," and they're like, "You're not?" I said, "I'm more in the middle. I don't consider myself a centrist, even though I see the good and the bad on both sides of the political spectrum, conservative versus liberals. It's just that I have my own way of looking at politics and liking certain things and disliking certain.
So you don't have a tribe, then?
No, I have my own person.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. And so it's always
that's
funny
exactly
because,
right. We're breaking ourselves into tribes again.
right? I mean, I hate it because I'll disagree with them on one thing and they'll accuse me of being a conservative, or I'll disagree with a conservative on one thing and they're going, "Oh, you're a libtard," and I'm over here going, "I am 2 seconds away from pulling out my hair." What? It's the stupidity.
Well, it just goes to show you. I mean, the internet is largely lawless, and it's really, really hard to regulate. So it's chaos. People can do whatever the hell they want. And what people naturally tend to do when there's no law in any given system is form tribes. So, I don't like to think this way, but maybe the invention of the internet and the way we have managed it up till now, maybe that's a drawback that we didn't see up until recently. Like it's removed any and all social filters that we had put there evidently for a reason. We had people arguing over the left and the right for generations before the internet ever really came along, but there was this general pervasive social rule that it's not polite to discuss like politics or religion or whatever in polite conversation. That has long since gone out the window, and since it has, that's exactly what's happening. We're breaking down into tribes again, and it's fucking chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where were we?
Ellen said.
Yeah, we got you, Rail. Ellen said this in response to the hate comments. "Here's the thing," said DeGeneres. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay that we're all different. Just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean I'm not going to be friends with them," DeGeneres continued. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. And I know it went in one ear and out the other as soon as she said it to most of these people.
If a member of Antifa were to read or hear these comments, their only response would be, "So you're a fascist."
Yeah. AKA read.
Exactly. They just can't comprehend this. She's able to be saved, I think, because she hasn't drank the Kool-Aid, hasn't limited her mind so much where she thinks that the only person, if someone agrees with her, they must be evil. And I think one reason why Antifa exists is we have a lot of young people who've been taught one perspective in university, that one thing is correct and any other belief is wrong. And because they've never had their beliefs challenged and have never had to face other principle stances, they just don't have a coping mechanism to deal with it. They can't argue back. They don't know how to think critically. So all they do is respond with a visceral, violent response to someone disagreeing with them. It's very emotional and not logical.
And you know what? Something tells me that when the consequences come in for this for Ellen, it's it's basically going to be because of everyone that represents her, or everyone that represents any platform that she's been given, all of a sudden deciding that they're just going to, excise her from any platform they've ever had, or for any reason that they've ever supported them. And you just know that there's a lot of these celebrities that have again been excised from their platforms and more or less exiled from ever having a voice ever again, by people that found it to be bad PR to let them disagree with this narrative that's been going on, who would happily stand up and speak out against it, having suffered the consequences of it now, but will now never get the chance. I mean, there are outspoken celebrities on this, and you never really hear from them at all. Like, the loudest voice that they ever get is their Twitter account. James Woods, despite the most we've heard from him in recent years has been like what, a couple of shows and a couple of movies he's done, and mostly the shticks in Family Guy that we've heard from him. But he's very outspoken on Twitter about all of this, like to the point of it being hilarious. He will never get a voice in the limelight because of his opinion. I know this is happening to more and more celebrities now because of this.
What they don't realize is that every single time they take someone who's a celebrity on the left and they attack them for not being left enough, what they do is they don't actually get the intended effect of scaring people into being more left-leaning. What they're doing is every one of those people that they attack, they turn them more conservative. They push them away from the left because they were the victim of the left. And then people who followed them listen to them. A bunch of people who've been attacked by the left, who were left-wing celebrities, have become vocal people against cancel culture, against PC culture. Examples would be Roseanne Barr, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, and Chris Rock have all called out PC and cancel culture. And they were all people who've been attacked by that culture, but they were on the left initially, right? They were doing all the right things to stay in the good graces of the far left, and it wasn't enough. And now they are calling out the far left, and people who follow them who were on the left are being disillusioned. They're being converted. So eventually what's going to happen is they're going to do this to enough left-wing celebrities that they're going to completely lose pop culture.
And the funny thing about all of this to me is that, as much as we try to enforce this political binary and that, if you're on the other team, then I'm not going to listen to what you say, you will realize that as you hear about one of these lefties being pushed out and exiled from their own culture that they helped to support, you're not basing your reaction of what happened to them on their politics. You're basing it on how they were as a human being. If there's any bad consequences for Ellen with what just happened, I'm going to be sad for her because she is genuinely a nice human being, even if there are a lot of things that she supports that I don't agree with. Sarah Silverman, on the other hand, can go fuck herself.
Oh, definitely. She can go fuck herself a lot.
Because she was just a shitty human being. It had nothing to do with her beliefs. It had to do with the fact that she was fucking smug. She would not listen to reason at all. She would attack anyone and everyone. She was basically the poster child of this manufactured outrage feminist that gave birth to shit like Antifa and so on and so forth. And when you boil right down to it, we are making these reactions. We're having these reactions based on the type of people that they are, not their politics. And yet, for some reason, all of this is about politics and not wanting to listen to people on the other side of the fence. It's fucking ridiculous.
I disagree with Ellen on a lot. I don't think her show is particularly entertaining. But I have to respect her opinion here. I think this day and age of divisive politics, people should think more like the way she does. So I wanted to highlight that she's someone on the left who isn't insane. And that does have a reasonable opinion about dealing with people who should disagree with her. And that's why I hope whatever she has spreads among the left.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so, but we know if it does, it's not going to be easy. If there's one thing that they're very good at now, it's insulating themselves from outside opinion or observing their own biases for what they are. You know, they're turtling into things that sound comfortable to them because they're accepted in their own social circles for believing what they believe. I mean, that's how they started believing what they believe in the first place. You know, they were effectively pressured into it. And human psychology is a wonderfully broken machine. It really is.
Absolutely. Any closing shots?
You guys have pretty much covered it all. I mean, I never really thought she was particularly funny when she was doing stand-up. I mean, some of her jokes are okay, but yeah, she's pretty much said what I've said the whole time, and I'm trying to convince people of. You don't? I mean, if there's a few things that you guys just cannot discuss without yelling at each other, how about you look at each other and go, okay, let's agree to disagree, change the subject, and just keep going. You know, it's become in a complete improbability for a lot of these people to go, okay, well, we're not going to agree on this, so let's move on to something else, and resort to name calling, trying to cancel your butt, trying to get you taken off of every platform imaginative, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not to say that we can do that with absolutely every discussion, that we can just agree to disagree and move on. But at the very least, what we need to do is get our fucking priorities in order. Yeah. I mean, there are things that are worth having that discussion to the point of it almost coming to tooth and nail. But whether or not your imaginary gender is real is not one of them. Yeah. Okay? Like, we need to reshuffle this deck and find the actual important shit to talk about before we start getting to trivialities like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. All right, next story.
Let the woman start the one titled "No Balls on These Dicks."
I'm sorry.
Can't pass unconstitutional legislation. Yeah, right. Can't pass unconstitutional legislation. That's no problem when you've got corporate America by the balls. Just threaten them with Twitter outrage mobs and anti-fascist bricks through their windows, and they'll enact any policy you want. Just make sure they get media circuits touting how woke they are. We've seen this multiple times now, always ending with the leftist policy somehow becoming the de facto law of the land without a single vote.
In 2017, after the Parkland shooting, Dick's Sporting Goods announced that they would stop selling guns to adults under the arbitrary age of 21. Why the number was chosen, we can't say. It seemingly was something to do with the drinking age, because you're gonna clearly go drinking when you go shooting, right? But we at...
I mean, let's not say it like it doesn't happen, but...
yeah. You shouldn't. I know it happens. You definitely shouldn't.
Here at Dire Wolf Media, do not promote the use of firearms while you are intoxicated.
Okay, so...
And man, I know we all saw that story where the guy shot himself in the foot because he thought his steel-toed boot would stop a .22 caliber bullet, and it hilariously didn't. Like, I'm pretty sure liquor was involved there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be drunk to be stupid with firearms. There was that YouTuber who tried to shoot through a phone book with a friggin' Desert Eagle, shot her boyfriend in the chest and killed him. Because she thought a phone book was going to stop it.
It's one of those things where you don't want to laugh, but anytime natural selection wins, my brainstem just kind of applauds. You know?
So I look at it this way. The boyfriend also was dumb enough to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You really thought that phone book was going to stop that Desert Eagle? Like, no.
Okay, so
goodbye.
Even if you thought
in the gene pool, sorry.
Even if you thought the phone book was going to stop it, right? Even if you thought it was going to stop it, why would you test it with it in front of your chest? Right?
Yeah.
There's other options. But we at Dire Wolf Media are unable to figure out what recreational substance use had to do with the constitutional right to keep and bear arms. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with the statistics either, because according to FBI.gov, more than half of the mass shooters last year were over the age of 21.
A single company refusing to sell a product to a single demographic is not the end of the Second Amendment as we know it, but their reason does signal a worrying trend. Recently, Walmart followed Dick's example, Wally and Dick, in limiting what ammunition they were willing to carry in their stores. This corporation shows that social and political pressure can be used to nudge corporations into doing what they want without having to pass unpopular or unconstitutional legislation. Knowing this, DNC candidate Beto I. Dirt O'Rourke, God, I don't know why he doesn't even have his fucking nickname isn't even right. It's Beto, stupid. Recently suggested that social pressure should be placed on MasterCard to stop processing transactions for guns and gun-related products, using social media outrage to force corporations to implement unlegislated policy is not a precedent we want to set. It undermines the very fabric of our democracy.
I'm Hank Hill, and I sell guns and gun-related products.
Right? Right next
Did you
to the
see this?
propane.
Did you see the story where that lady at one of his rallies or whatever actually called him out on this?
Yes,
like,
I did.
What are you going to do to legislate those who don't pay attention to your laws? And he gave the longest non-answer of all time.
Yeah.
Like it was priceless.
So I'm working on another Patriot letter. Well, I'm working on two, and both Fox and freaking Bone are working on their one letter each. And Han, I'm not sure if you know what those are, but we're sending letters off to members of Congress and members of the media. And one of them is on the use of what passing a law is, and how we needed to not be delegating that to unelected, unaccountable people, regulators. Because every time you pass a law, the lawmaker needs to realize that they are wielding the power, the power of government to use deadly force to enforce that law. No matter how small it is, when you say this must be done, otherwise there will be punishment, you are telling the public that the government can kill you if you refuse, if you fight. So that's how serious a person should approach any law they are passing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it's the reason I don't appreciate lobbying, and it's also the reason I don't appreciate social media being wielded as a hammer against the government.
Yeah. In any case, where do we leave off? Is it my turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Dick's also removed. That's where you are.
Oh shit, we're still there. Okay, Dick's also removed assault rifles and high-capacity magazines. By the way, I think high capacity to them is 30. That's not high capacity to me. From their stores, which has cost them nearly $250 million in sales in the past year. Their CEO, Edward Stack, who now has fewer stacks to work with, who is currently trying to sell a book, ordered the guns not just taken off the shelves, but destroyed. Not only did he oh my god, that's stupid. Not only is he no longer selling in the stores, he decided to completely waste the capital that was invested in said guns. That's just dumb. Normally, unsold firearms can be returned to the manufacturer, and Dick could have done this, got their money back at least, or at least some of it. But Stack decided that spending an additional money to melt down $5 million worth of guns was more virtuous. As the CEO of a publicly held company, Stack has the legal responsibility to make the company money. Since he started this virtue spree, Dick's stock has dropped more than 30%. I'm sure not only are his investors very angry with him, he may have actually broke a law here. You have a legal duty to manage the company properly, and intentionally wasting value in the company to this degree might actually be a crime. And I would suggest those who are stockholders of this company, you could probably do a class action suit and win a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, there's no way their board of investors approved this shit. You know, there's no fucking way. He went over their heads. I can guarantee you that.
1 second, baby. Am I being too loud for you right now? I'll quiet down.
It's like there's a war in here.
I'm just really passionate, baby. I'll be quiet. Love you. She's recording songs.
She's recording songs.
In the other office.
So you mean the dick has performance issues?
But no,
Nice.
I didn't realize. I actually didn't read this paragraph till just now, and I just got through a course in business law, and yeah, I'm fairly sure what he did here is a crime.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, if he remains in, if he holds his office after he did what he did, I will be amazed.
Me too.
Yeah.
Totally. This again, not to mention this. Oh Lord, I can't say this
Statistics.
word half the time. Statistics. That handguns are the most. Hey, look, if I say it fast, it comes out statistics. See, now I remember on the live stream heard it too. That handguns are the most used weapon in gun crimes, which Dick's still sells. Gee. Which just goes to prove that they have no understanding of the problem, even if they even care. What they do understand, though, is that this manner of virtue signaling acts as protection money paid to the SJW Mafia in exchange for safety from the eroding effect of their own social media mobs. They made him an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do, man.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. Do what we say, virtue signal, and we won't destroy your company from the bottom up. That's basically their tactic every time.
Yep, basically. The silver lining here is that selling and owning guns and ammo is not actually illegal yet. And boy, will there be a revolution should they try to make that happen. This means that they can attempt to shrink the supply all they want. The demand will still be the same, possibly even go up if they keep threatening that it will be illegal someday. So if the big box stores are not around to supply that demand, smaller local mom and pop style gun stores, the idea of a mom and pop gun store is funny to me, will pick up the slack. That keeps your money local and with people who have a passion for the Second Amendment. That is a much better place to buy your guns. Anyways, a local member of the community is likely to be more knowledgeable about guns and the local culture than some random clerk at a big corporate store. And I'm not saying when I thought it was funny that a mom and pop store like they don't exist to me. They're one of the a commonplace I see where you get good quality guns. They tend to have a bigger selection. It's just funny to me that I think of it's not usually run by a literal mom and pop.
Yeah, because when you said that, all of a sudden my imagination went to this cute little couple, the guy in the back and the wife going, "Hey, Billy Joe Bob wants to know if we got a 30-06 in stock."
I would imagine the little old lady pulling, like, you walk in the store and she's like behind the counter and you say, "I take a look at that shotgun." She pulls it down and she operates it like a pro and she shows you all the parts to it and it rattles off the data about it. It's this nice little friendly looking old lady, like someone you would expect to be a firearms expert.
It's delightful to watch, yeah. Turns out she's a fucking assassin.
Exactly. Retired.
It's bad when I call out people on Twitter because I consider myself gun dumb, but I know what trigger discipline is, and I know the difference between a rifle and a hand. And every time I do that, I get like 5 or 6 likes because I'm like, I'm gun stupid, and I know that ain't right.
Oh man, that makes me think. Oh God, I don't know if I posted it to Twitter or not. I think I did post it to Twitter. Did you see that picture that I posted of a political cartoon someone on the left drew of Trump shooting himself in the foot with a revolver, but yet somehow it's ejecting brass? It's like, this is why we should not allow them to make gun laws.
Yeah.
Oh man, I saw that. I was crying. It was so funny. They understand nothing about the things they're trying to ban.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Any closing shots on that story?
Nope.
All right.
I mean, I would just say that it's another thing about them not understanding consequences. They don't realize that there's a domino effect to their actions. Even if they're successful in making guns completely illegal, do they think those guns are just going to disappear? Do they even think it's going to be feasible? Even if they have a plan to do to every gun that has been sold to everyone what this idiot did to $5 million worth of his stock, even if they have that plan, do they think that a lot of those guns aren't going to disappear from the count onto black markets and people are going to find them anyway? They seriously think we're just going to throw all of our guns on some bonfire and then dance around it in some kind of peace circle and then world peace will ensue. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And the consequences of your actions don't give a fuck if you understand those consequences or not. Mm-hmm. They're going to happen. They don't think that far. That's why we need to stop them from doing this.
You're absolutely right. So if they ever do try to make guns completely illegal, first off, people like me who are in the military and people who are in law enforcement, a vast majority of them would not enforce it. They would resist that. I would rather not be in the military and then follow that unlawful law, right? Because I was sworn to uphold the Constitution, defend my country from enemies both foreign and domestic. And I currently see some people in our country as being domestic terrorists who are trying to destroy our Constitution. You should resist that. And I think that the people would very much be in the moral and constitutional right should they ever try to, make guns illegal to overthrow the government. That would be the reasonable response to them trying to take guns away. Because you know what happens? Tyrants historically, one of the first steps is disarm the populace. And every time they've disarmed the populace in the past, also crime skyrockets. The people who are harmed the most are those who are the most vulnerable. That is the poor and minority groups. Those are the ones who are harmed the most. But people across the board are harmed by not having the ability to defend themselves. You know what? The people that are most hurt by the restriction of firearms is women, believe it or not. Because my wife, she's tiny. She couldn't fight off any average male, right? She's definitely not going to do well in a knife fight. Promise you that. Because we practice, just kidding. But she can take down a guy or multiple guys much larger than her because she has a firearm. And she knows how to use her firearm.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of women have had their lives saved because they had a firearm. In any case.
Yeah, well, these people that are pushing for this, they don't understand that they're poking the bear. I mean, every time I see, Antifa or any other group of protesters doing something to try to exert control over a space that they shouldn't have control over, it's just another thing where they don't understand the consequences of their actions. You may be in a city that mostly sympathizes with this whole, ban guns thing, but as soon as some domestic terrorists, even if they rise to the state of power that they think they're going to, and they are actually headed in that direction with the mayor of Portland, Oregon, to the point where they own that city, do they think that people are just going to let them keep it? Do they think they're just going to bend over and take it? No. Yeah. They are poking the bear, and they're going to regret it.
The irony is they're saying that Donald Trump is a tyrant, and then they want to say, let's give the government Donald Trump runs the ability to take away our firearms. Give it to it. Let a tyrant take our guns away. Hilarious.
Trump is literally Hitler. Let's give literally Hitler our guns.
Yes. I love your logic. Stick with that. It's hilarious.
Yeah, feels before reals, man. That's what it gets you.
Exactly. Okay, next story. And it's starting with me. So Greta Thunberg, whatever the hell her name is, Greta, and the Nobel Prize. Thunderberg, Greta Thunderberg. Sounds like a wrestler. Thunberg. A year ago, Greta Thunberg was nominated by her family for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. This happened long before the left-wing media sources had gotten a hold of her and started using her as a tool to push their agenda. At the time, she was little known and had basically just been skipping school to protest climate change. Fast forward to the last few weeks, there's been a lot of people on the left who are saying that she deserved to be this year's winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. Those people were a bit disappointed this Friday when it was announced that she didn't win.
Oh.
Well, I know. Well, they may have been disappointed, but they really shouldn't have been surprised. Though it may not seem like it with people like Barack Obama being handed the prize for no apparent reason, there are actual criteria for earning the Peace Prize. Alfred Nobel left a will that outlined what kind of person should be awarded the prize. It states that the prize should go to the person who shall have done the most or the best work for fraternity between the nations and the abolition or reduction of standing armies and the formation and spreading of peace congresses. Clearly, Greta did not meet these criteria, as her demonstrations have done nothing but stoke the fires of political dissent. Why would anyone think that she deserved it?
I don't know. They must be really stupid or not know what the Nobel Peace Prize is.
No, they don't. they don't research anything. Like they think the Nobel Peace Prize is just a hippie crown that we place a hippie crown of flowers that we place on someone's head for thinking that they're a good person.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not how it works.
I got a friend of mine that lives over in Norway where they give out the peace prizes. We were talking about politics and we got to Obama and she goes, I, being Norwegian, apologize for that mistake.
And the funny thing is, okay, so they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize before he had the chance to actually do anything. Yeah. So he had absolutely no chance to do anything within that criteria. He got a Peace Prize because he's black and a president of the United States. That is all. Then he goes on to continue to expand military operations and expand drone attacks and kill more people, including a lot of civilians. So,
yeah, if he wanted our respect, if he wanted everyone's respect, he would have turned down that Nobel Prize for that exact reason, and he would have publicly said so. But no, he rode that bias that got him into office in the first place, and just cast himself as this champion role in his own hero story. It's the Nobel Peace Prize has become a joke.
Yeah, from that point forward, the Nobel Peace Prize meant nothing. And same kind of thing happens with any kind of recognition you give. So in the military, there some branches have started to give out. So there's medals that are like for performance, and then there's medals that are combat medals, right? And it was just generally agreed that these medals are given to people who actually were in the shit, right? They actually were in combat, and they did acts of heroism to varying degrees while under fire, right? Or in
combat medals.
Right, combat medals. Well, they made a determination that because these people that don't have combat jobs were not getting combat medals, and combat medals have a bigger impact on your career as far as getting a rank and progressing in your career. They're like, well, these people who work like, I don't know, finance or the chow hall, they aren't progressing in their careers as fast because they're not getting combat medals. So let's make it so you can get combat medals for administrative work not under fire. And obviously this pissed a lot of people off, but the problem is now you've diluted what these medals meant. Now, when it used to be that when you received one of these several medals, everyone would know you had done something in the AOR that was very meaningful, usually very heroic, or save people's lives and such. But now it could mean that you process the pay for 1,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. How long before we start giving people the Purple Heart because their feelings were hurt?
Well,
I mean, like I say that half joking and half not.
Here's your combat medal for winning the last food fight.
Right.
Duck those mashed potatoes.
If my boss were to offer me a medal, a combat medal, for doing something in my job that was not combat related, I would turn it down. If I think it's easy to turn it down, at least have it removed from records. I would not want to insult the people who'd also earned that medal. And for me,
it's called integrity.
Exactly. And my boss, when I recently got a new boss, he was sitting me down and talking about what his expectations were to go from what I would need to do, go from E7 to E8. And I said, I respect your advice. I will do the best I can to follow your advice, but I'm going to let you know that making the next stripe is not even on my list of priorities. My job as an E7 is to take care of my soldiers below me. My job is people, to make sure that they're prepared, make sure they're trained, make sure that they can have the tools and training they need to survive and succeed. I don't care about the next stripe. I'm not going to work for the next stripe. I'm trying to earn the one I have.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
there need to be more soldiers like that. But no, we're entering into the age of where we're lowering qualifying standards for women just so they can wear that same honor that any other soldier does. Like, again, this whole feels before reals thing, like prioritizing feelings before anything else, is making itself into our military, into our government as a whole. Like, yeah, you are a dying breed, man, and it's sad. It really is.
I know. I'm working with a lot of young millennials and younger than millennials. It's a different mindset. It's crazy. But I could get into that right now because that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, it's another talk for another day.
Exactly. In any case, I want to thank you guys so much for being on the show with me today, despite all the slew of tech problems. Helping Hand, please shill your stuff real quick.
You showed me that my microphone's a problem, so.
Please shill your channel real quick.
Oh, yeah. I am a helping hand. I am the pissed off, clicker icon for Windows come to life to slap the shit out of SJWs. Yeah, you can get to my channel, youtube.com/a helping hand. I haven't put up any videos in quite a few months, but I do intend to get back to it as soon as I possibly can. Check me out and let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna post your channels linked down below in D Live here shortly. But also, Maddie, shill your stuff, please.
Hi, I'm Maddie of MWM Media that's hanging out in the chat with you guys. I do news and I also do geek stuff, and to catch where everything is, channels and so forth, hit me up on my blog over there that has links to all my social medias and even my geek blog and stuff like that.
Yes, and I also received a Streamlabs earlier that I didn't talk about, so I'm going to go back over there. Thank you for the follow. So we got from Timberwolf. No, wrong one. So from 2 hours ago from Slowpoke, we got $2 saying, "Put on the dress, Wonder Bread." That was referring to CC earlier. So thank you very much, Slowpoke, for the $2. Much appreciated. You are entered into the raffle. The raffle I didn't talk about earlier today, but it does exist. Anyways, thank you for staying on. We went way longer than usual because of the tech issues. It will not be like this next show. I'm going to set the computer on fire and watch it burn.
I think I'm going to set my mic on fire and watch it burn. Damn it.
Just got Office Space it. All right. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the game stream. Direwolf,
Absolutely.
out.